I've been watching a lot of Lost lately. I just finished the first season, and lately I've just been thinking about the time that the show came out and what else was on TV at the time, and it just reminded me, or made me realize, in the 2000s, TV was elite. Television in the 2000s was on fire, and I don't know if, anybody's talked about this enough. People talk about like 90s and 2000s gaming and cinema and whatever. I'm sure other people have talked about this as well, but I was just thinking earlier, holy shit, 2000s television was the fucking best. And I think it was because of that transition that Sopranos did, where everyone started to do single camera shooting, like basically the non-sitcom multicam approach. They wanted to make TV shows look more like movies. And I think that was a huge shift in that. I was just thinking earlier though, like, there were so many TV shows that came out in the 2000s that are some of the greatest television shows ever made. And I don't know if anyone has realized that. I mean, I'm sure they have, but it's funny how that's one of those things I haven't, I never realized it until I watched a lot. I didn't watch a lot of these shows when I was a kid too, because I was like 9 or 10 or whatever when all of this shit was happening. I was just a kid, so I couldn't watch a lot of the adult shit or a lot of the stuff that was really dominating TV. But let's think about it for a second. In the 2000s, we had The Sopranos, The Wire, 6 Feet Under, Breaking Bad premiered, Lost, Oz was still airing. You had Sex and the City, Gilmore Girls, just stuff that was a lot of shows that were impactful to somebody and made somebody love TV. I feel like everyone that loves television has at least one favorite show from the 2000s, but I was just thinking about this and I was like, holy fucking shit, that must have been such an amazing time to watch all of these shows in the 2000s, and I'm just in admiration of that. And Mad Men was airing during this time. There were so many shows that either finished airing or started airing in the 2000s. The Office, Parks and Rec started in 2009, Community started in 2009. The 2000s was such an explosion of these, like, 10 out of 10 shows. I've never watched Sex and the City and Gilmore Girls. I just wanted to throw those in for the ladies because I know that those are very popular shows just in their own right. I've never watched them, but I'm just talking about shows that have some sort of cultural influence on us as a society. And I think all the best TV aired in the 2000s, easily. There were still some fantastic shows in the early 2010s, like True Detective, Fargo. Some of my favorite shows are still from last decade or so, but still, just that decade in particular, 2000 to 2009, was a very, very special era for that stuff. So, yeah, I love that time. I think cinema peaked in the 90s and 2000s as well. So we had some of the greatest movies and some of the greatest shows in the 90s and 2000s. Where 90s, the sitcom kind of dominated, like Seinfeld and Frasier and Friends, and that multi-camera approach. Everybody Loves Raymond. Like all these shows were, a lot of sitcoms 100% dominated the 90s, that I think once they made that transition, and once shows like Malcolm in the Middle and a lot of these single camera shot productions, once they had that going, obviously we couldn't turn back. People got sick of the laugh track. People got sick of the way that sitcoms look. Like, they have a certain look to them that gets very repetitive. And it's so cool. It's so cool that not only did they make that shift, but there was such a surplus, such a plethora of amazing, like 11 out of 10, seriously fucking groundbreaking TV shows. And I think I missed that. I think I missed that time where it was like, you turn on the TV, imagine turning on the TV in the 2000s and every channel has something going on. I'm not a fan of reality TV by any means, but even reality TV had its heyday in that time. That was American Idol and Survivor and Jersey Shore and Extreme Makeover, Real Home Makeover, whatever. All these reality shows were still good. You had Anthony Bourdain and all the Food Network and Travel Channel guys doing their thing in the 2000s. 2000s was, when cable was still a thing, before streaming really took over and absolutely like buried cable TV into the ground. Cable TV was making money. They had the advertising. They had a lot of shit going on, and I think I'm just in admiration of that. I really love focusing on these eras in media and entertainment. As someone who loves media and entertainment, I love focusing on these eras that are like, oh, there was so much good shit. That's such a cool feeling that there was like such a massive amount of them, and these they were all juggernaut shows. So it's not that these shows were good, it's that there were so many of them, and there were so many fantastic stories happening. And I just kind of wanted to put a spotlight on that. I don't know if anybody talks about that enough, how 2000s was the greatest, most special time for television because of that shift and that change that happened. Lost is an awesome show. It 100% falls into that 2000s television, not cliche, but that typical, like, oh, every episode's like a cliffhanger, every episode's just like a juicy, enriching part of the story. But that's good TV. Good TV should feel like every episode is exciting and fun and has something to look forward to, because why the hell else would people at the time, why else would they tune in every week? If your show's not grabbing onto me, I'm not going to tune in every single week. And I think streaming, dropping an entire season in one day now, is just kind of changed that. I'm not a fan of, the Netflix binge thing that's been going on. I was going to try to think of a better word to use than thing, but I'm not that smart of a person. So Netflix binge, that just shifted everything, and I kind of miss when there was something to look forward to every week. I think Game of Thrones was the last epic event of television. We all saw how that ended. Not the worst finale, or even not the worst last few seasons of any show that I've seen, but for Game of Thrones being such a top tier television show, that should have gone a lot better. See, once the 2010s came and Walking Dead premiered and TV changed, kind of, TV. And The Walking Dead was okay for a couple of seasons, but there's just such verbal diarrhea. Whatever I just fucking said was completely meaningless. But when Game of Thrones was airing, that was the last bit of TV where I was like, I have to tune in every week. I have to pay attention to this, and I have to be a part of that event. And it was fun. It was a great time. Even though the last season was like whatever, and the last finale was kind of meh, not bad. I hate when people say Game of Thrones finale was like shit. It wasn't shit. It was just meh. Pretty lame. Pretty fucking lame overall. But regardless of that, at the time watching that last season, watching that finale, it was still exciting. I didn't care. I think I get so excited about the magic of TV and the magic of storytelling, and I become so biased, and I become such a fan of these things that even if a show ends like a pile of dog shit like Dexter did, I still watched it and I still enjoyed something in it. Like I still found something to enjoy within it, despite it being a real kick in the nuts as a way of ending a story. That's how good TV shows can be. This, even if it's complete shitty ending, I'm still invested and I'm still paying attention and still excited to watch it. That was just. I hope we can get back there. I hope film and TV I hope things circulate, like they say, how things come in cycles and shit. And I hope there is another cycle, another time of extensively good television and movies. There's still good there are still fantastic movies and TV shows coming out. What my main point with this video though is it's not like a massive amount of it. It's like you have to find the 2 or 3 shows or movies that you like every year, and that might be it. You might not, as opposed to look at the Oscar nominations and from the 90s to 2000s, as opposed to what we have now versus all the Emmy and Oscar nominations from the 90s to 2000s. Imagine watching the Oscars in 99 and thinking what the fuck's gonna win Best Picture? All these movies are fucking fantastic. That's what I miss about all of this stuff. That's what I'm just trying to make a point with this is, it's not that I like when stuff is good. I like when everything in a medium is good. I love when I'm flipping on the TV or going to a streaming service or whatever the fuck, or I put on a movie or whatever. I like when there's so many of them. and maybe that's very spoiled. Maybe I got spoiled with how many good movies and TV shows there were when I was a kid, and how I kind of ended up revisiting all of them as an adult because I missed the boat on a lot of them. It's like, all right, well, I missed all these shows as a kid, might as well watch them now. And yeah, it would be really nice to go to have that moment again where there are so many shows and movies that are good, and they're all good. Imagine like loving every single movie that came out that year, instead of like, oh, this was disappointing, this was okay, this kind of sucked, this was good. It feels like there's such a range nowadays of like, really good, decent, okay, bullshit, trash. Like there's like a whole range now, and there was still bullshit back then too. It's not like every show and movie in the 90s and 2000s was good, but the ones that were popular for a reason, and they did deliver. They did come through with something interesting. That's all that this comes down to is the story or the arts or the content of it, the I don't want to say content, but the actual like foundation of it. Is the foundation of it interesting? Is it gripping me? Is it keeping me on the edge of my seat? Is it making me want to just continuously pay attention to it? So yeah, that's where, why I am such a victim of nostalgia in that way. Not a victim, but I'm such a biased person with a nostalgic lens when it comes to looking at all these things, because I don't know, it was special. Things were better, and they were they were treated a lot more seriously in the 2000s, with television especially. Now TV has become like, oh, who's popular on the internet and what shows haven't we made? You got a lot of shows that are trying to represent different cultures, different types of people, different walks of life, and that's good too, but I love seeing, that colossal amount of fantastic work being made. So maybe I'm just like, missing that, or like why I wanted to make this and why I wanted to talk about this is to see if anybody else like thinks about that. I love the idea of talking about this with other people, like how these specific eras are very magical for a specific art form. To me, 60s and 70s music is some of the greatest music that's ever been made. Everything after that was, either really good or really bad. 80s music and 90s music, there's some fantastic shit, and then there's some bullshit too. But 60s and 70s, even the shit that wasn't that popular was still pretty good. Anyway, my whole point with this is that there are certain eras where things have their heyday and then their moment in the spotlight and their time where these different mediums have their moment of wow, like there's a lot of good shit happening, and I think I just missed that. So I'm rambling and spewing a bunch of shit out of my ass at this point. So anyway, yeah, if you're looking for good TV and if you're like looking for something new that you haven't experienced, it's like not the bullshit that we get nowadays, because I don't know, TikTok and all this shit has kind of ruined how people view media in general. But yeah, if you're looking for a good TV show, if you're looking for something good, just look up any show from the 2000s. I guarantee a lot of those shows will at least scratch that itch that you're looking for. They'll give you some sort of, I think what I loved so much is the concepts of these shows were just very unique, and the concepts of movies at that time were still very unique. And we should bring that back. People should start making shit very good in large amounts, because it feels like I'm sifting through a bunch of fucking crap to find the diamond that I'm looking for, and it's just it's a shame. I can't imagine living in the 2000s being like, oh, every single one of these shows. Imagine having a DVR with like 15, 20 different shows that you were really into and wanting to watch, and now it's just what's popular on Netflix. Oh, the internet's talking about fucking Bird Box or whatever. This movie must be good, even though that movie was a piece of fucking shit to me. The movie fucking sucked. But yeah, nowadays it's just what's popular and what's got eyes on it. And I think that people are missing out on shows that are actually really good, that will, make TV look like shit now. Like those shows from that time just make TV look like dog shit now, because a lot of TV is dog shit now. So anyway, 2000s was the greatest time for TV in recent years, and I don't think there's any debate on that. If you want to argue with this and you want to try to tell me like any other era was the best that TV had to offer, I'd love to have a conversation about it. But I'm pretty sure that that's the truth. Like, that's an objective truth that 2000s television was the best. And yeah, hopefully we get back to that at some point.